Well, would you look at that? It happened again. We are on the day of a pay-per-view, and I'm not talking about said pay-per-view. No, instead, we're here to talk about WrestleMania, since it is WrestleMania season, believe it or not. And if you don't believe it, I'm right there with you. Let's just say that. Welcome to this edition of the Unlimited Q&A series here on the Unlimited YouTube channel. If you would like a question answered in a future Q&A video, join the Unlimited Facebook group page. And when I post the status that asks for your questions, that's where you send in the questions. And while you're at it, join the group page, like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. If you like this video, leave a like. If you don't like this video, leave a dislike. If you like this channel, subscribe to it. And if you like enough of my videos that you want everybody else to know about them and to watch them, then share them. And while you do all of that, I'm going to get some questions ready. Wrestlemania-themed Q&A. This is WrestleMania Q&A number 2 of 3. The third one will take place during WrestleMania week, during the Unlimited Marathon. An announcement about that is coming up very, very soon. I really shouldn't even be doing this Q&A. When I mentioned that, I'm not really here to talk about the pay-per-view that's tonight, well, as it turns out right now, it is around 10:15, maybe 10:17. We're almost at the main event of said pay-per-view, and here I am recording the Q&A. That just shows you how uninteresting that this pay-per-view is, and how uninterested I am with this pay-per-view. But without any further ado, let's get to these questions. I got a lot of them, a lot of good ones. Hopefully I get more good ones as these Q&As keep rolling along. Walter Main, with the way storylines are looking right now, what do you do with Strowman at Mania? One thing I would not do is put him in an IC title match of any kind. By now, he should be champion, or he should be going after the title. Sticking him in an IC title match after being probably the most over guy on the roster for the course of good year, and you're going to put him in an IC title match. Yeah. And I think it was you, Walter, that brought up this point that said, well, maybe Strowman is, too big for the title. Or maybe he's one of those guys that doesn't need the title. Okay. So let's just say that's the argument we're going with. Then why would you have him go after the IC title? If he's too big for the main title, why is he going after the secondary title? You get what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, would not put him in an IC title match. I'd put him in a world title match. Or, hell, I would even have him enter WrestleMania as the champion. And if you didn't do any of that, if Samoa Joe was healthy, maybe do Braun versus Joe. Other than that, I don't know. I really don't know. What is the biggest flop of a Mania? Oh, God. WrestleMania 25. Because I remember back in 2009, they were really, really hyping this pay-per-view up. They were really pumping up the propaganda for this pay-per-view. They were really making sure that everybody knew that WrestleMania 25 was happening, was going to be a big show, was going to be a great show. And it was just kind of borderline bad. It wasn't the worst WrestleMania of all time, but it was disappointing. Some of the big marquee matches did not deliver. I didn't really think Orton Triple H delivered, nor do I think it should have main evented the show. Thanks again for screwing up, again, for the third time at WrestleMania, WWE. Whatever. Triple Threat World Title match, who cares? And then, of course, you had the match of all matches, and it was in the middle of the damn show. That just sums it up right there. But, yeah, there was some other stuff that bothered me too, but, yeah, WrestleMania 25. WrestleMania 32 in a way, because, it didn't help that you didn't really have some major players, because a lot of them were hurt. And what they did do, even though it looked good on paper, or looked interesting on paper at least, just didn't really work. So yeah, WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania 32, oddly enough, they were both in Texas. Maybe that's just a theme, I don't know. Who do you see accepting the Bars challenge for Mania? I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't even know they laid out a challenge. Maybe that's just me not paying attention to Raw, or just not really caring enough. But I couldn't tell you, to be honest. If maybe this Bray Wyatt Matt Hardy storyline ends on Raw, maybe if they don't go to Mania with this, maybe you can have the Broken or the Woken, whatever they are, Hardys, take on the Bar, I guess. Otherwise, who knows? Who knows? Will the Cruiserweight Championship be on the main show this year? It should, especially since you're building up this long tournament to determine, the two number one contenders, if you will, for the Cruiserweight title. So, if you're building up this tournament and you're involving pretty much the entire division in it, what better place to put it than the WrestleMania pre-show? Am I right? Will it be on the main show? Hell no, it won't be. Has there ever been a bigger dip in WrestleMania quality from 1 to 2, or a bigger spike in quality from 9 to 10? Bigger dip in quality, huh? Bigger dip in quality. I mean, you can make an argument, WrestleMania... wait a minute. For me personally, like a WrestleMania 14 to a 15 was a pretty big dip. WrestleMania... I can't really say WrestleMania 19 to 20, because the three marquee matches, the three matches that you were building the show around, delivered in every single way that they could. So I can't really say that. Another big dip. Maybe WrestleMania 30 to 31. Because I didn't really particularly like WrestleMania 31. I thought 30 was pretty good. But 31, I think, is probably one of the most overrated WrestleManias in history. Yeah, those would be the biggest dips. Biggest spike? You could say WrestleMania 11 to 12. You can say WrestleMania 13 to 14. You can say WrestleMania... maybe 27 to 28. Even though the first hour of 28 was brutal. Kind of goes back to WrestleMania 20 in that the matches that you built the show around delivered. And at WrestleMania 28, the three marquee matches delivered. So, yeah, you can say that. It's all I can think of. Biggest spikes, that's really all I can think. Maybe WrestleMania 16 to 17. Maybe. But I'm not really the biggest fan of 17. But just to please all of you, I'll put 17 up there. What is the most disappointing match in Mania history? Brock Goldberg. Because you look at this as a dream match. Like a legit dream match. What'll happen when one of the most dominant wrestlers of the 90s faces the most dominant wrestler of today? Makes for a good storyline. It makes for a good match. Except for the fact that you announce Brock Lesnar's leaving and you announce Goldberg's leaving. And once you get to WrestleMania 20, it's clear that neither of them care. So the match becomes very, very bad. and probably the worst WrestleMania match in history. So yeah, probably go with that in terms of disappointing. Another disappointment, ironically enough, it still involves Brock Lesnar. Brock versus Ambrose, WrestleMania 32. Since then I've kind of fallen off the Dean Ambrose bandwagon. I haven't really been on the Brock bandwagon at all. But that match should have been a lot more than what it was. Just saying. What is the least consistent Mania? Good question. That is a really good question, actually. Because, you didn't go so far as to say, which WrestleMania is the best, which WrestleMania is the worst, which WrestleMania had the best card, the worst card. You said least consistent. So that would mean, like, the first match was good, but the second match was brutal. The third match was good, but then the fourth match was kind of meh. Fifth match was pretty good. The sixth match, get what I'm saying. Oh, man, you have me stumped here. Wow. I didn't think it was going to be this difficult. Maybe WrestleMania 18? Because the card leading up to another match that should have main evented the show, Rock Hogan, was a little bit hit or miss. There wasn't really anything that popped leading up to Rock and Hogan, of course. So maybe WrestleMania 18. It's another one. Maybe WrestleMania 20. You had a lot of matches, and some of them were solid, some of them were brutal. I think Cena versus Big Show was pretty solid, but then you had the filler tag title matches. Then Christian and Jericho was a really damn good match, but then you get to, you get Christian and Jericho, and then you get Evolution versus Rock and Sock Connection, and then you get a freaking Playboy Bunny Mania tag match. I mean, come on. Then you kind of get a pick-me-up with the Cruiserweight match, and then you get Brock Goldberg. Then you get Molly Holly and Victoria, which was just kind of meh. And then you get to the three marquee matches. But even those three marquee matches, you get Eddie and Kurt Angle, which, I mean, it's Eddie and Kurt Angle, so could you really get a bad match? But then you get Taker versus Kane, and even though the moment itself was great, the match itself, for all intents and purposes, was pretty bad. But then you get the triple threat match at the end of the show, again, the kind of pick me up and end the show on a high note, and the show on a good note. So yeah, WrestleMania 20. So 18 and 20. If I had to put a third one in there, maybe 25. Maybe 25. Because, you had the Money in the Bank ladder match that kicked it off, which is fine. And then you get the Divas Battle Royal. Need I say more? What is the most dangerous spot in Mania history? Probably Edge spearing Jeff Hardy. Probably Shane McMahon jumping off Hell in a Cell. What else? Pretty much anything that they've done in ladder matches and TLC matches at WrestleMania is probably up there for most dangerous spots. The worst musical performance at Mania. Oh, man. Well, I went to WrestleMania 29, and Diddy's performance felt really, really random. And it felt really rushed. So, and he didn't even do, full songs. He did, like a verse, and that was it. So I might go with that. If I had to pick another one, maybe last year's, And I don't even know if the performance itself was bad. I just didn't really care about it, to be honest. There was enough on that show where we didn't need a musical performance on that show. Let's be honest. Do you believe the story X-Pac tells that he and Kane were going to have a barbed wire exploding ring match at WrestleMania 2000 until plans changed? You know what? Yeah, I actually do, because, during that time, you're in the Attitude Era. Vince really doesn't care. It's pretty much do whatever you want. We're going to get ratings. We're going to win anyway. So, yeah, I actually do believe it. Walter Main finishes it off. In a hypothetical situation that someone scheduled to main event ends up jailed or missing the day of Mania, what would they do? You'd have to imagine they'd have some sort of a backup. Like, they wouldn't just cancel a match. They wouldn't just say, no, we're not doing the match. They wouldn't just do that. Even when you go to a play, there's always, the understudies? You always have them. In the event that something were to occur, an emergency or an injury or, tragic death, or like you said, someone gets jailed, you'd have to imagine there'd be some sort of a backup. You'd have to think that they'd be smart enough, to have a backup plan. And if they aren't, then wouldn't really surprise me at this point. Let's see. Paul Andrew Biello, do you think Cesaro is overreacting with his anti-beachball rant? Oh, not a WrestleMania question, but I'll answer it anyway. Yes and no. I understand his logic. I understand his anger. They're paying money to see you, so, pay attention to the match. Pay attention to what Cesaro does in the ring. Don't be sitting there throwing around beach balls. It can be seen as disrespectful. I understand Cesaro's point of view completely. And if I was in his shoes and I was out there, I would want people to watch me wrestle. I would want people to listen to me speak. I wouldn't want somebody throwing a beach ball or somebody proposing or whatever. I love how the WWE freaking used that to their advantage and said, oh, we're special enough to get somebody to propose at one of our events. You realize that the only reason why they did that was because there was nothing else entertaining on the show. Which makes me kind of, agree with the fact that he is overreacting, because let's be completely realistic here. When you buy a ticket, whether it's $20, $200, $2,000, whatever. When you buy a ticket to an entertainment show, you expect to be entertained. And let's be completely honest here. WWE is far from entertaining on a consistent basis. So, I understand why fans would be upset. I understand why fans would resort to that. There are better ways to go about it instead of throwing a beach ball. Why don't you go to the box office and get a refund? There are better ways to go about it. I agree. However, WWE doesn't really give you that much entertainment, to be fair. So, I completely understand why they would react like that. Just my opinion. I get what he's coming from. I get where he's coming from, But, can you really blame them? I'm just saying. Francesco Bruno, WrestleMania is one of the biggest of the year in all of sports. Do you believe this year will set the bar? What does that even mean? Do you mean, will this set the bar of WWE pay-per-views? Doesn't the Royal Rumble usually do that? Since it is the first show? No. I don't think so. No. And it usually never does. Sorry. Not trying to be rude, but... Jack Albert Cox, do you think there will be any surprise debuts, returns at WrestleMania? If so, who do you think it'll be? Debuts? You'll probably see an NXT guy or two in the Battle Royal. Returns? No, I don't see any returns. I really don't. it's a little bit too late if you wanted The Undertaker to come back for whatever reason. It's a little bit too late to set that up. So no, I don't think so. Which match do you think will be match of the night excluding Nakamura and AJ Styles? I'm pretty sure if they add some sort of a ladder match, which will tie into a question later, that would be the match of the night. But you'd have to imagine it's going to be AJ Nakamura. You'd have to imagine that. Matthew Mullins, if the accusations about Roman are true, you really think they're true. Good Lord. How will WWE handle the main event of WrestleMania? Like I said earlier, you'd have to think there'd be some sort of a backup. I don't think they're true. But whatever. We're still going to get it regardless. At least in my opinion. Is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal pointless? Yes. Honestly, in the... how long has it been? 4 years? In the 4 or 5 years... My math is slipping. 31, 30, 31, 32, 33... Okay, in the 5 years that we've had... Or excuse me, 4 years, whatever. That we've had this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, who has really, truly benefited from it? You can't really say Cesaro has. You can't really say Corbin has. And... I'm sorry, but Fastlane is on right now. Did Mojo Rawley even have a match? Is Mojo Rawley even featured on SmackDown anymore? No. No point to it. How terrible will the mixed tag match between Stephanie and Triple H and Kurt Angle and Ronda be? Oh, man. Could only imagine. Could only imagine. What makes it even worse is... Triple H is in the match. You know this match is going at least 20 minutes. What makes it even worse is, since Triple H is in the match, this could very well close the show. And at this point, it wouldn't surprise me. It really, truly wouldn't. Will Asuka face Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's title? Will Nia face Alexa for the Raw Women's title? I thought it was already set in stone that Asuka is facing Bliss. Can we please make a definite decision about this match? Please. Because... Hang on 1 second. Okay. You'd have to imagine it's going to be Alexa Bliss and Asuka. You'd have to. My opinion. But like I said, make a decision. Because the guys on Raw are already acting like this match is happening. So if it's not happening, please announce it. Please. Because you're just wasting time. Like you so often do. If Asuka does not wind up facing Charlotte, then yeah, Nia will probably face Alexa. Will the UK or NXT titles ever be defended at WrestleMania? NXT title, yes. UK, probably not. NXT title could be a good opening match, or hell, if you even wanted to put it on the pre-show, I'd be okay with that. But it could work as an opening match as well. Will John Cena ever main event at WrestleMania? Again, yes. In fact, you'd be crazy to think he wouldn't. Next year, just saying, there's always a way involving Cena. There's always a way. And it wouldn't surprise me if WrestleMania 35, he's in the main event spot. Chris Rubio, will Carmella cash in at this year's WrestleMania? It's kind of funny that you asked that, because there have been reports saying that they're going to have her try and cash in and lose. You're going to have her carry Money in the Bank for almost a full year, and you're going to have her lose. Yeah. And you want us to take the women's division seriously. Oh, brother. Barring any setbacks, to answer your question, though, no. Barring any setbacks from Sunday, will it still be AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE title at WrestleMania 34? Yes. Yes, I think it will be. Will John Cena break the record before he retires? Again, I think you'd be crazy to think that he wouldn't. Yes, it's going to happen at some point. Just wait for it. It's coming. Who's the best option for a match against John Cena at WrestleMania? Great question. I don't really know if there is one. Because even if you think about it, even if you went with someone like an Elias, even if Samoa Joe came back, and you went with Cena versus Joe, you know how it's going to end. You would hope that it didn't end that way, but you know how it's going to end. And if you're a fan of Elias, if you're a fan of Samoa Joe, would you really want that? Being realistic. Quite frankly, I don't know if he has a good option. I really don't. Will the women's division one day main event at WrestleMania? Yes. But how about we find ways to get all of them over in the correct way before we even consider making them the main event of Mania? Which championships from both Raw and SmackDown will be defended in a ladders match, triple threat, fatal four-way, or six-pack challenge? Wow. Well, we know the IC title is going to be defended in a triple threat match. I would assume there'd be some sort of a ladder match. Maybe involving one of the tag titles, maybe involving one of the mid-card titles, I don't know. Fatal four-way? Nah. Six-pack challenge? Nah. I don't think so. Stephen Barron closes it out. In the event that for one time and one time only WWE hosts WrestleMania Day as a platform for a single sport to host an all-star charity scrimmage of sorts, which sport would you choose? What would you hope to see out of it? What would your dream team consist of? I'll answer the first question and the third question. I would probably choose basketball, looking at the roster and looking at some of the people that I would put on the team and just thinking about it from a logical sense that it's probably the easiest sport that can be done. Dream team? You'd have to imagine somebody like maybe a Seth Rollins would be a point guard. You'd have to have like Titus O'Neil, maybe Apollo Crews. Maybe Randy Orton. Trying to think of like the more athletic guys. Because I'd probably go Titus O'Neil. He'd be one of the forwards. I think Orton would be one of the forwards. I think that Rollins and Apollo Crews would probably be the guards. Who would be the center? I wouldn't go with Braun. Because even though centers are slow, he'd be a little bit too slow. Maybe Baron Corbin. Sure, what the hell. I'm sorry I couldn't, I'm honestly drawing a blank with that. It's a really good question. You know what? I'm going to flip that question around and turn that to you. You answer this. WrestleMania, if they ever did a WrestleMania Day, if they ever did a charity sporting event involving the WWE, using only the current roster, which sport would you do, and what would the team be? You can do like WWE Superstars versus celebrities, or WWE Superstars versus pros, whatever the case may be. You answer that question. I can't wait to hear some results. I'm sorry again that I'm drawing a blank, but thank you all for submitting questions for this Q&A. This went almost a half hour, so, keep it up. I like these questions. Really good stuff. Gives me more content, gives me something to do. I'm going to sit back, relax, and watch the end of Fastlane and try not to fall asleep. See ya.